everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm so excited about today's project. I have another project using the Pioneer Woman placemats from Walmart. Now, you don't have to have a Pioneer Woman placemat. You can do it with any quilted placemat. But today I'm going to show you how to make this cute magnetic little card wallet. And it's got two pockets. I've got business cards in one, and this side is open. You could put money in here. You could put your store cards. You know, we've got cards for the drugstore, the grocery store, all kinds of customer cards that we carry these days. So those fit in here just perfectly, and you can make this actually any size you want. You could make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, but mine measures approximately 5 inches by 7 inches when it's wide open. Now, all you're going to need to make this project, again, is the placemat. I'm using Pioneer Woman from Walmart. This is approximately $3.97, and you can get 4 wallets out of this. And then you're going to need a piece of coordinating fabric. I just have a fat quarter here. And you're going to cut a strip of it 1 3/4 inch wide by, you're going to figure out how long your project's going to be. Again, mine's about 7 inches, so I did 1 3/4 inches by about 15 inches, so that I had 7 inches here and 7 inches here plus an inch to spare. So that's a measurement you can figure out as you go, or actually what I did, I just made a really long strip and then I just cut off what I needed. But it turns out I had it pretty close to what I needed. So I think this is a really fun project. I think these are going to be super simple to make. Oh, one other thing you need is the magnetic closures, and I got these from Walmart. I think you can get them at Joann's. You can get them just about anywhere. These are by Dritz, and they came 2 in a package at Walmart. They're pretty inexpensive. And that's it. I think these are going to make really fun gifts and a little extra that you can throw in the pouch. If you haven't seen my box pouch video, how to make these, we've also made these out of the placemats, and I'll link that video in the description below this video. But I've been having so much fun seeing these all over Facebook. You guys are doing a great job tagging me. So if you want to make a little matching pouch to go inside, I think these are going to be a lot of fun. So let's get started. Okay, so this is just the regular Pioneer Woman placemat, just like we used in the zippered pouches that we made. So I had one of these, and I just cut off the end and another section, which I used to make the demo one. But you're going to be able to get approximately 1, 2, 3, 4 wallets out of one placemat. So you're going to cut off the end, again, this trimmed in, and then you're going to measure over about 5 inches, and it happens to be about the length of the square if you go to the center of the pattern that's right in between the squares. So I'm just going to eyeball that, and I'm going to cut this right down the center, just like so. All right, so this, I have a choice. I could have this be my outside or this be my outside. I'm going to have this be the outside. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out where the middle is. So we're going to fold it in half and finger press. So that is the middle. I'm going to open it up right here. And just to save myself some issues later, or from having to figure out where that middle point is, I'm going to use this fabric pen right here. This is the Pilot Fusion pens. So there's my center point. I've got that down. The next thing I'm going to do is figure out how big I want to make this. Now you could put your pockets about like this, and then it's going to be a larger size wallet. Or you could put them in a little bit closer, which is more what I did. So I'm lining this up here on my mat, and I think I'm going to bring this up to about, so it's 1 inch from the center. Each square is 1 inch. So I'm going to bring that up to about 1 inch, and I'm just going to pin this just to keep it in place. this one about 1 inch would be right there. I'm going to pin that. All right, the next thing I did was I am going to secure this with some magnetic snaps, and I just got these. I think I got these at Walmart. You can get them at Joann's, anywhere. These are by Dritz, but they have different ones. These are super simple to use, and there's 2 sets in a pack. I already used one on the other one, and each one comes with 2 pieces that each have a washer on the back. So I'm going to set that down. Now you're going to need a ruler for the next part. What we're going to do is, let's double check our measurement. This is 5 inches across, so half of 5 is 2.5. So we want to measure from the top of this pouch at 2.5 inches. So we're going to mark 2.5 inches first. Sorry if I'm confusing you. We're going to mark 2.5. It's right here. 2.5. It's right here. All right, now we need to measure from the top of this ridge down to, you can put it where you want. I'm going to put mine at 2 inches, and I'm keeping it lined up with that 2.5 inch mark so I know where the center is. And actually, I'm going to go about 2 1/4. I'm going to put a dot. All right. Now what I'm going to do is take this end of the magnet. There's an end that has the little nipple on it, and this is the opposite end. I'm going to take that one. I'm going to take that washer, and I'm going to put it right over that dot. And then I'm going to mark with my pen right where those slots are. So you should have a mark something like that. Now we're going to leave that there, turn the side over, and do the exact same thing. So we're going to measure 2.5 inches, be about right there. And then we're going to measure from the top of this to, what did I do, to about 2 1/4. So 2 1/4. And that happens to be right where I put that dot. So that's perfect. Now I'm going to take this other washer, which I think they're exactly the same, but I'm going to put that right in the center. And then I'm going to mark those 2 spots. And the only reason I'm having you go ahead and fold this up instead of doing it flat is just so that you keep in your mind which side is the front, which side is the back. So you want the snaps to be on these folded flaps. Okay, now you need a seam ripper, and you can undo this flap. And you're going to just put the seam ripper right in that slot and just slightly open it a little bit. And once you do that, you can take your magnetic piece and stick it right in those holes. So once you poke that in the holes, then you just go on the back side, you put your washer in there. Once you have the snap through the holes, you're going to go ahead and put your washer in the slots and then just bend these back. And this is a little bit difficult. You might want to use pliers or something else, but you can do it with your fingers if you're a little tough. And then we're going to go over to this side and do the exact same thing. We're going to put our seam ripper right where that dash is and just slightly rip it up a little bit. Insert our second snap piece into the slots. Add the washer and fold the ends back. And again, you might want to use some pliers. I just use my fingers, but If you want to use pliers, go ahead. Now, if you have any marks left from your marking, you can use your iron and just remove those. I'll go ahead and do that. All right, now we're getting to the fun part. So now we remember we had this 1-inch fold. We're going to fold that back up, make sure it's straight. And I'm going to pin it. You can clip it, whatever works for you. I'm going to put my center line there, fold this up to the 1-inch mark, and pin. What I recommend at this point is just take this over to your sewing machine and lightly baste, and by baste I just mean use a long stitch, stay near the edge, and just go ahead and stitch right down that side, right down this side, right down this side, and right down this side. And all that's going to do is help this stay in place for the binding. So I've taken this over to my sewing machine and just lightly basted those edges. I just sewed from approximately just from there to there, and all that does is keep this in place for me. I am not a quilter by any means, and applying the binding on the edges is more challenging for me than somebody who quilts. So I just wanted as little to frustrate me as possible. So I went ahead and basted that edge. Now you're going to prepare your seam binding, and all I did was take the 1 3/4 inch wide piece of fabric, folded it in half, pressed it, and then opened it up and folded the edges to the middle, pressed it, folded that in half, and we're going to press it. All right. Now, again, I am not a quilter, so I'm sure I'm going to get lots of critiques on this, but that's nothing new. I put a little point on the end. This is what works for me. So if it's not correct, I'm sure it's not correct for that matter, but this works for me. So I opened it back up and I just put a little dab of Elmer's glue right there in that tip, and I folded the tip down. Just so that I have a finished edge right there. And then I'm going to press that with the iron, fold it back in half, and now I've got a clean edge. Now if you are a quilter, you can run your seam binding all the way around this, and it's probably going to look a little more finished. I'm not. So I am going to just apply it to this end. So I want you, depending on how wide you made your pockets and how far of a gap you left, you're going to put this on the top and see how long you need it to be. So that's how long I need it to be. What I don't want to cut it right there because I have to fold this end under as well. So what I'm going to do is go right up here and cut from the inside out into the point, just like I did on the other end. All right, and now I can do the same thing. I'm going to open this up, apply a little glue to this end, right on the tip, fold that tip in, hold it for a second, need a little more glue. And I'm just going to press it with the iron. Double check it, make sure it's long enough, and it is. Let's get rid of any strings we have. And while we're at it, we might as well go ahead and do this side. So again, I'm going to, now I have my point going the opposite direction from the other one, so I'm going to change my point. I'm going to fold my point in. And again, if for all you quilters out there that have mad binding skills, I applaud you. You can go all the way around and it'll look probably much more finished, but this is all I could figure out for me. Alright, so now we're going to measure the other side and do the same thing. Make sure we have enough to go all the way down. Ooh, just barely. So, oh, there's more than I think. I just didn't have it pulled down. I'm going to put a point in that one. And finish my end with some glue. And I'm just putting the point in it just to reduce some of that bulk of the fabric. You don't have to, you could just fold it straight in, but... And fold that in half. Alright, so now we have our two pieces that are going to fit on the end. Okay, so I have taken my scissors and just trimmed up all the loose threads on the ends, just from cutting that placemat open. Some finished edges. And now I'm going to take my seam binding, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to line up this side of the seam binding with the edge of the wallet. And I'm just going to put some clips. You can pin it or don't pin it at all, whatever works for you. And now I'm going to stitch right down the center of that seam binding, right along the edge. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'll line that up with that edge. Clip. Clip. And clip. So we're just going to sew right along the middle of this side, right along the middle of this side. It's the side closest to the edges. This flap's going to stay out of your way. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so now you can see I have sewn right along that edge. This is open. And right along that edge, and this is open. If you look at it from the back, you can see that seam going right down the center. What we're going to do now is flip it over, pull that folded edge over, and lay it back on the other side. So let me show you again. So this is the front. We just sewed that down. We're going to take this side, pull it over, flip this over, and clip it into place. Now this is where you want to make sure that your edges are trimmed up, folded under. It's going to look nice, and you want it nice and taut, and clip, and then make it even all the way down. Clip, and clip. And do the same thing on the other side. We're going to pull that over. And it should be taut, but not so taut that it's folding the seam over. But there shouldn't be a lot of loosey-goosey stuff going on in there. That. And I don't have any more clips over here. Put a pen in there. So now you're going to sew right along the edge of that seam binding this time. Instead of going down the middle, try to go right down this side of it. And you're going to do that on both sides. So let me go ahead and sew that. Again, if you have any loose threads, get them out before you sew over them. Okay, so I have attached my seam binding on both sides. we're basically done. I still have this mark right down the center, and all I'm going to do is stitch right down the center, and that just helps it fold a little bit easier. So we're going to do that. All right, so I sewed right down that center line. Now I'm going to use my iron to get rid of my ink line. It's so magical. I love that. And I'm going to trim up any remaining threads. It looks nice and finished. And there you have it. You have your Pioneer Woman placemat, wallet, card holder, pouch that matches the zipper pouch. So you have a pocket here and a pocket here. You have your magnetic closure. There's some more threads. And again, if you're a quilter and you feel comfortable doing the seam binding around the edges, I don't. I'm still a beginner sewist, and everything I know about sewing I've just taught myself. So I didn't feel quite comfortable, but it would be really cute to go ahead and finish that seam binding all the way around. But for this purpose and for this project, I kept it simple. We just did it on the edges to cover up those raw edges. And, you know, really cute. You can get, like I said, out of one placemat, which these are like $3.97 at Walmart, 1, 2, 3, 4 wallets. You could also cut it this way and do 3 of them, and it would be a little bit bigger. A friend of mine, Terry Goodermuth, I was showing her on FaceTime this creation this morning, and she said, oh, you could make book covers the same way, or a Bible cover. So lots of possibilities with this general idea, but I thought these turned out really fun. And here is my other one, and again, I put my little label in this one for Ace and Evie. That's my grandkids' names, and that's my labels that I put in everything that I sew. So that's it for today's project. I hope you enjoyed it. If you make one of these, I would love it if you would tag me on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, anywhere. I'm around, and I love seeing when you guys tag me in projects that you made inspired by one of my videos. If one of you want to make it with the seam binding all the way around, please tag me. I'd love to see it. I wish I had time to teach myself that this morning, but I didn't. So I went with what worked for me, and that's what I always suggest to all of you. Do what works for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.